Good afternoon on this Monday, August 13th, and as we take a look into the tropics, beginning with the latest Hurricane Center outlook, they are still monitoring the remnants of Tropical Depression 7. There is about a 20% chance of regeneration over the next 48 hours as it moves on into the West Caribbean. And Invest 93L, which was that very strong tropical wave that exited the coast of Africa a few days ago, has since moved a little bit more toward the northwest, and that too also has a 20% chance of development in the short term. The basin-wide visible satellite animation shows both of our systems of interest. Here's a look at 93L Invest. There really isn't much in the way of convection associated with it, and that is because it is wrapped up in the Saharan dry air that is pushing westward through the central Atlantic. But the long-range global models do show the potential for development into a tropical depression or tropical storm as it begins to turn more toward the north. The good news is that even if development were to occur, it's going to remain to the east of Bermuda, so we're not overly concerned there. Now in the Caribbean, this is a look at Tropical Depression 7. It's very strung out from southwest to northeast, which is a good indicator that the westerly vertical wind shear is still doing a lot of damage to this tropical feature. And any development in the West Caribbean is looking unlikely at this point, as the tropical upper tropospheric trough is still embedded within the entire Caribbean, along with a lot of dry air near Honduras and Nicaragua. If the remnants of TD7 are going to have any shot at redevelopment, it really won't be until it moves into the lower Bay of Campeche and southwest Gulf of Mexico, where it will have a brief opportunity to develop before more than likely pushing into mainland Mexico. We're going to take a look at the models in just a moment, but really quickly as we move into the eastern Pacific, we also have Tropical Storm Hector located to the southwest of the Baja Peninsula. Hector does not look overly organized as it is dealing with some easterly vertical wind shear, and that is why the surface circulation is partially exposed. Now the good news is that Hector is expected to drift more toward the northwest into sub 26 degrees Celsius water temperatures, so Hector should be able to dissipate within the next 5 days, but we're still going to be paying attention to this tropical activity to the south of Mexico. So with all three systems in mind, we're now going to transition to the 12Z run of the CMC forecast model for the next 6 days. You will first notice Invest 93L Invest, the remnants of Tropical Depression 7 and Tropical Storm Hector out there in the eastern Pacific. And as we set this into motion, you see Hector weakening and dissipating over cooler waters. And Invest 93L is forecast to intensify but move away from Bermuda. And finally, the system in the Caribbean is expected to remain just far enough to the south to where it really doesn't have any potential to develop in the Bay of Campeche. Next up is the latest 12Z run from the GFS model. And we see Hector slowly losing steam as it moves into cooler waters, but it's also trying to develop this secondary disturbance to the east of it before it pushes that low into the Baja Peninsula. The models are likely overdoing the activity in the East Pacific, but we will be keeping a very close eye on all of that disturbed weather that we saw on satellite imagery to the south of the Mexican Riviera. Also, you see 93L Invest strengthening as it pushes away from Bermuda, and we also don't really see much in the way of activity in the deep tropics. There is a very strong tropical wave exiting the coast of Africa, but you see here by day 7 it's moving so far to the north already that it's really going to limit its chances of development, and also it's really going to disrupt any chance of the system coming westward all the way toward the Caribbean or the southeast United States. Finally, as we loop this animation one more time, you see the remnants of Tropical Depression 7 staying just to the south of the Gulf of Mexico, so we're really not expecting TD7 to regenerate, but we will still keep a close watch on the Bay of Campeche in the event that any broad low pressure area can move well enough offshore to possibly start to organize. Last but not least, this is the 10-day forecast from the ECMWF using the 850 millibar vorticity, and once again we don't see any signs of deep tropical activity. By day 7 we do have that broad low moving into Veracruz, Mexico without any development, and that is associated with the remnants of TD7, but elsewhere in the Gulf, Caribbean, and West Atlantic there are no tropical features on the map. Perhaps by August 22nd we've got a tropical wave moving into Puerto Rico, but it's not showing any signs of organization, and the same can be said for this tropical wave to the west of the Cape Verde Islands. Despite the lack of activity shown in the models over the next week or so, the Madden-Julian Oscillation is still in a favorable state for tropical cyclone development across the Atlantic Basin, and we are likely to see at least 1 or 2 additional storms before the end of the month. But that's all for now on this Monday afternoon. Check back tomorrow at 28storms.com and the Hurricane Tracker app for another round of detailed tropical weather analysis.